The Spanish called La Isla de Nuestra Señora de los Angeles, the island of the Lady of the Angels. Nowadays, we just call it Angel Island. 2,000 years ago, Angel Island was home to the Miwok Indians. The Miwok lived a good life in a small island paradise, hunting in the island's forests and fishing in the bay. Later, the Spanish used it as a military base, and later still, the U.S. Army set up shop. Its open spaces are lined with hiking and bicycling trails, and it is once again island paradise in the middle of the bay. You can visit it by taking a Blue Cape ferry. But there's another chapter in Angel Island's history that began in the late 1800s, when the United States government built an immigration center on the island. Angel Island became the Ellis Island of the West. For more than 50 years, thousands of Asian immigrants passed through Angel Island. Many of them were held on the island until they could prove that they had relatives already living in the United States.
My name is John Kim. I came here in 1924. I went to the island, what they call Angel Island.
The immigrants were questioned for hours, and their answers were compared with statements made by other family members.
First, they had my name, my parents' name, and brothers. And they all asked now, how many daughters, how many
The price of a long answer was deportation. But today, the old detention center houses a museum, a monument to San Francisco's Asian immigrants, men and women who fought their way past legal barriers and racial prejudice to enjoy America's promise of a brighter future. The one and only Alcatraz Island is directly ahead. Once, the only creatures that lived on that barren rock were pelicans. In fact, that's where Alcatraz got its name. The Spanish named the island after the pelican, Los Alcatrazes. The U.S. Army decided Alcatraz Island was a perfect place for a fort to defend the bay from invaders. But this cold and windy rock was such an unpleasant that they changed their mind. It is now the perfect place for military troops and eventually a federal penitentiary. It was a time when gangsters were becoming heroes to people. The government needed to send a message that criminals did not pay. So they created Alcatraz, the very last stop in the country's prison system. It seems to send the worst criminals of all.
Yeah, my name is Leon Wiley Cox, sir. Our number is 1465. AC 1465.
Listen carefully now. You're about to hear from former inmates, guards, and residents of The Rock to tell you their stories themselves.
I was a man that had total hatred. I hate anything that walks the cloth on this earth. And when you got a man like that in prison, you gotta get rid of him. And that's what they did. They shut me out.
These were hard men, kidnappers, bank robbers, killers, men so dangerous that when the first batch arrived by train in 1934, not one was allowed to step down onto free soil.
They simply loaded the train cars, one by one, onto barges, and floated them out to the island with the inmates chained up inside. What really was that if a man died on Alcatraz, his corpse would leave the same way, stone cold dead, but in chains. With men like these, you could never be too careful. The building you see on top of the hill was the inmates' new home, the Alcatraz cell house. One described it as a tomb of living souls. Some would stay for a year, others got 20 or 25 years. To get an idea of the accommodations inside, go ahead and reach your arms out as far as you can from side to side. That's how wide an Alcatraz cell is, only 5 feet across. Now reach your hands up high above your head. That's how tall, and only a bit longer from end to end. The cell house might look huge from here, but it was never completely filled. No more than 300 inmates lived inside at any time. 300. They could all fit on this boat ride today. Notice the circular water tower. Alcatraz is surrounded by water, but on the island itself, not a drop. Fresh water had to come from San Francisco, and not by any pipeline. 2 or 3 times a week, a barge arrived, full of 180,000 gallons of fresh water. It was pumped up into that tank. The tall smokestack marks the Alcatraz powerhouse. One thing that couldn't be brought out here by boat was electricity, so they made their own. One young man was only 21 years old when he first climbed onto the Rock. His name was Frank Heaney, and he was a guard. In fact, the youngest guard ever to serve on Alcatraz.
I had a very difficult time. They really took advantage of my age. And the old saying that misery loves company, they're very miserable, so they like to make you miserable too. They had no tailor-made cigarettes, they had no candy bars, chewing gum, soft drinks, radios, television, newspapers, rules or rehabilitation programs. They had none of that are being sent to Alcatraz.
Men sent to Alcatraz considered themselves the elite among convicts.
But on the Rock, I'm not trying to put a feather in my hat or not, but they had a lot of class. You could say they were a higher caliber of criminals. They were more or less professionals, people who robbed mail trucks and banks and so forth. Some were into murder. They were kind of above average criminals. Robert Strout, the Birdman, Al Capone, Nicky Cohen, Frankie Garbo, Machine Gun Kelly. They're just a little stupid fool like I was, and that's the way most of the other cons felt about, because everybody was the same on the Rock.
Nobody learned that faster than Alphonse Big Al Capone, Mr. Scarface himself. Capone ruled like a king in any other prison, but here on the Rock, he mopped floors just like anybody else. With no one to protect him, Capone was a sitting duck. The big man was roughed up, beaten, and even stabbed. But Capone had carried his real killer with him to Alcatraz. A case of untreated syphilis was eating his brain and slowly driving him insane. He ended up locked in a bug cage, the fenced-off section of the hospital for mental patients. Still the tough guy, Capone fought with his wardmate, not with guns or knives, but with bedpans, full bedpans. Afterwards, the once mighty crime lord had to be washed out with a hose. Look up ahead, 3-story guard barracks above the landing dock. You'll also see another crane tower above the It was manned 24 hours a day. It had a large group of weapons and a 30-06 rifle, 30-caliber rifle, tear gas gun, 38 revolver. Men were shot and killed from the tower. One officer would sit up on the top of their semi tower, 75 feet above the island, locked in for 8 hours at a time, watching, just watching, no matter what kind of weather.
Sometimes I thought you were in heaven when the phone would come in.
George DiVincenzi was an Alcatraz guard in the 50s.
I was in the Dark Tower the day that they closed the Golden Gate Bridge. They had over 100 mile-an-hour gales. I'm in that Dark Tower, and that was swaying like Sandy Kay's music. The water in the cool was spinning around. The tower was shaking. And I thought, my God, if this goes for the end of the day, in this cage. It didn't take long for someone to try to escape from Alcatraz. Just 2 years after the prison opened, guards saw a lone man struggling over a wire fence. They took aim. And he fell to his death into the bay. There is no definite proof that any prisoner ever escaped Alcatraz alive. But as they keep desperate men from trying, 36 of them in all.
You cannot take away from a man the thought that he wants his freedom.
I could see out the window at nighttime, and you could see kind of over by the bird coastline there, and you could see all the lights over there.
There's life. There's everything I want in my life, and it's there. It's a mile or a mile and a half away.
Yeah, I can't get it.
That wide open area just past the cell house is the prison exercise yard.
Right.
Once a week on Sunday, inmates were allowed out in the yard
No way.
for just 2 hours, like there could seem normal. They could sit in the sun, read, maybe play a game of soccer with friends.
Occasionally, some guy would
I did
get
a
a gun and knock the ball in the
triathlon,
wall.
and I
But if
trained
you
for
knock
it
the
like
ball in
really
the wall,
hard,
you're out.
and there is no way I could.
And he can't go to the other side to get it
Looks
in.
like you could, but swimming in the ocean is not like swimming in
Long
a
white
pool.
2-story building was the prison industry. There were a number of attempted escapes that started from that building. There was one incident where the inmates got to the top of the building. You'll see a small tower there. They were going to attack that tower. The officers fired and he shot and killed one and wounded another, and the other was captured. The whole top floor of the industry building was removed. Alcatraz contains a large unit for all the armed forces of the Bay Area. The laundry arrived on the army and was delivered by soldiers. That gave one very smart inmate an idea. Slowly and patiently, he began to collect bits and pieces of uniforms as they made their way through the laundry. And when I say patient, I mean it. It took him 10 years to do it, but he finally collected a complete army uniform, dog tags, and a watch.
Florida.
Armed with nothing more than a Texaco mask and $2 in change, he calmly strolled down to the dock and walked onto the boat to the rest of
And I
the
moved to Nashville.
He made it as far as Angel Island. Alcatraz guards were there to meet him with a pair of handcuffs. He quietly rode the boat.
We were in Nashville for a while.
One guard captain said he kind of felt sorry for the guy. He should have won an award for his efforts.
I always joke with him, where West was from, because I was born in LA.
Today, names like Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, and Robert Stout the Virgin are ruling fame. But other Alcatraz inmates were equally
Oregon, so it's like, where are you going? I don't know the one.
West Coast somewhere. Where in LA did you go?
people in cold blood.
USC, okay.
Yeah, I had my master's in social work.
I never liked him. He spit in my face once.
That's all right. No judgment. You got a degree.
Mother and father, 3 children, and took them well. He was given 300 years from Alcatraz.
We're all in the
Psychopath he was one.
I now do.
Because he killed a California Highway Patrol officer.
Addie,
They killed him. That's public. He was rescued with sand. Like the train bus on a holiday, and we watched him get executed. He was a man with far balance and
Think about your first day on the job, or maybe your first day at a new school. I bet it was nothing like
Just
yours.
give it a shot.
like, please, yes. I did this one program for police.
I was told to go to the barber shop.
And then just, you know what, it's just taking the time of life.
The barber,
I get it.
they were conversing.
Their parents to take them to speech therapy. It's crazy, like your kid can't talk. Right? Don't you want that help? Yeah, but it's free often. Yeah, a lot of them are Medicaid. Right. Well, you can get birth certificates free if you know earlier.
Lunged at him.
Yeah, I work with my youngest kid. Now, we're in the back of the all the way up to 75. So my kids range. But I'm not family care. Even when I work with the kids, I don't do it by themselves.
Three of us spun around, knocked the chair over, knocked another cabinet over. He kept hitting me. Of course, he was dead.
Kind of fun watching the Concord Lab.
He used to say that was the end of the shears at the barber shop. They went to electric clippers
That's
after
what it looks
that.
like it's doing.
That was man Alcatraz, my first day.
It was said that the cold waters and deadly currents of the bay made Alcatraz virtually escape-proof. Prisoners might break out of the cell block, but getting off the island was an almost impossible challenge. In 1958, 2 men decided it was worth the risk to brave the freezing bay water. The idea of it sends chills right up my spine. Why, imagine seeing prisoners swimming towards our boat right now. You see, in this story, 2 men made it out of the cell block and into the water. One inmate was captured and taken back to his cell. He lived to tell the story of the two. His partner in the escape wasn't so lucky.
And for that reason, I think that failed.
If he had been able to climb into the dark, he would have had a long, cold swim ahead of him.
And I was more or less hoping to go to Point Richmond, which is about, I think, 8 miles or so. I had a plastic bag to keep myself afloat. And with the ocean, and how long could you stand it in that water without being unconscious? You need heavy underwear. And I guess that's why the man, they tell me that's why the guy that was with me died and drowned, because of that heavy underwear. It's like concrete.
Once an inmate makes it ashore, you're not home free. I mean, that's the start of your adventure. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You get caught. In fact, you turn yourself in. You'd be so blind, you say, you know, I just escaped from Alcatraz. I want some help.
Life was hard on the rock. But if it was too hard, the prisoners would riot. One way to keep them happy, feed them well. On the menu, there was porterhouse steak with snowflake potatoes, southern fried chicken, or grilled filet of perch with a lemon wedge and buttered asparagus. Full yet? Better leave room for dessert. If inmates didn't eat everything on their plates, they got no food the next day. There was strawberry ice cream, apple pie, or maybe chocolate cream pie instead.
Every Christmas, we had a Christmas tree in the dining room.
And entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you for your musical edification the all-inmate orchestra, Alcatraz's own The Rock Islanders.
They'd set up in the corner and they would play their music and serenade the inmates while they were having their Christmas luncheon. They had the trumpet and clarinet and drums and saxophone. Oh God, they butchered everything up. They were amateurs, but they tried.
In the 3 decades it operated, 1,500 inmates served time at the federal penitentiary at Alcatraz. In 1963, when the last boat left the dock, a chapter in history was closed forever. Did The Rock fulfill its job? Alcatraz inmate Machine Gun Kelly, public enemy number 1, wrote this in a letter. These 5 words seem written in fire on the walls of my cell. Nothing can be worth this. This kind of life I'm leading. That is the final word of wisdom as far as crime is concerned. Today, Alcatraz is now part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Every year in August, the island hosts a reunion of its former residents. Guards and prisoners again take the boat ride to the Rock, but this time as friends.
I'm very happy to talk to them, shake hands, have coffee with them, you know, and spend the day together and reminisce. No animosity as far as I'm concerned.
Alcatraz attracts more visitors every year than almost any other national park site in America. Unlike the men whose voices you heard today, they can count on leaving when they're ready to go.